Hey everybody, it's Emily, the Crazy Worm Lady. I'm here today with our Forbidden Foods bin. We've now done 2 weeks of citrus feedings. I wanted to check in. I'm trying to be really good about being timely in my updates so that we can really see how the worms are doing as the food decomposes. So I'm going to pull back our bubble wrap, and I do notice some condensation on it, which is actually a really good sign that it's holding in our moisture. This is where we fed 2 weeks ago. And it is still loaded with our European night crawlers. By the way, if you're new to my channel, please feel free to subscribe so you can continue to follow my experiments and all of my different worm bins. Give me a thumbs up. Some of these European night crawlers are still looking a little bit thin. I'm hoping they're going to completely rebound after being neglected. But I will say this bin has a very, very orangey smell to it, which is interesting. Tends to be that way as the food is breaking down, and then it tends to completely go away once the citrus is completely gone. Of course, the citrus is considered a forbidden food because citrus is very acidic, and we know an acidic worm bin is always considered a bad thing in the worm bin. So my attempt with this particular feeding is just to show that worms can even reproduce and do well inside a bin that's highly acidic. So we'll leave them to it, and we're going to come down to this right-hand side where we fed a really large amount of citrus again. Well, I'm sorry, it wasn't a really large one, but a decent-sized one. And see how they're doing there and decide if we're going to feed this week or if we're going to skip a week on a feeding. But I'm going to kind of adjust my camera, and we will take a look. So last week we put in unfrozen oranges, and again the worms are all throughout here. There's still some unprocessed food, and I will say I notice a warmth about this bin that I didn't notice before, and that's a sign of the decomposition, but you just want to keep an eye on it. You don't want it to get too warm. But here's some more. And the worms haven't completely moved in, which I think is a direct result of the fact that it was not frozen. I do see a few of my little green beetles, but they're not really an issue as long as they're not in an overabundance. They're just little helper decomposers. But you notice a lot of springtails there, and that this is molding a lot, and that's because it was not frozen. So it's taking them a little bit longer to break it down, so it's molding. So to me, that's an indication that I need to probably skip a feeding this week, let them work through this before I add more food. But the castings around here are nice and flaky. There's worms all throughout the area from 2 weeks ago, as well as this newer feeding. And they don't seem distressed at all by the acidic conditions that people think come along with a large citrus feeding. So, can't complain at all. Like I said, I do think it's probably a good idea to leave this another week. So I'm going to bury back up as much of this citrus as I can to prevent any sort of pests from moving in. Of course, it's always our goal to kind of maintain an equal balance, but not to have any crazy overabundance of any one pest. A little bit of, springtails, potworms, beetles, no big deal. It's kind of a sign of a good ecosystem, but we just have to monitor it closely. I think the last thing I'm going to do is just kind of spread a tiny bit more dry bedding across the top here, as well as some of my dry mix to kind of balance out any acidity. Make sure we keep the bin nice and healthy. So I'm just going to sprinkle some of this across the top. And the worms will dig down. So even if they get covered with it and they look a little distressed for a minute, they'll move right out of it and it's not a problem. And then I just have some coconut coir that I use for seed starting, that type of thing. Got some shredded newspaper in here. And I'm just going to lightly cover this middle area as well as this right-hand side to make sure that we are blocking out any smells that would attract fruit flies. So this newspaper kind of got caked up, but that's okay. They'll still find a way to work into it. But that's going to be the update for today. Kind of quick one, but I did want to show you guys what was going on. Still seems to be going quite well. And let me know what you want to try next week. I've had quite a few really good suggestions that I definitely think are going to be put on the list to try. So let me know what you would like. We'll see what we can bring next week. And in the meantime, we will cover these guys back up and call it a day. So I appreciate those thumbs up, all of those comments. They mean a lot to me. I appreciate all the support from the community. Keep in mind, I have cocoons for sale right now in my store. The website's listed below, and it is $10 off for at least the next week. So make sure you go and check that out. If you want to start a cocoon bin, you can check out my Worm Bin Basics cocoon bin to see exactly what that looks like. And I'll talk to you guys real soon. I hope you have a great day.